I was the true heir of the Harrison family. Yet on the day of what should have been my grand wedding, my CEO wife shoved me out of the limousine. My leg was torn open, blood and bone exposed. She sped off to a hotel under the excuse of saving the company, throwing a lavish wedding for someone else. The limousine that belonged to me, the rose petal carpet that was mine, all became the backdrop for a public romance with a fake heir. The whole city whispered in envy of her marriage to the real young master of the Harrison Group. My 3 years of legal marriage were wiped clean by a forged certificate. I knelt on the floor while strangers called me a stray dog. Then my parents walked in and the truth hit everyone like a freight train. The man who had been funded and dressed up as a Harrison heir was nothing but a fraud. Even after the truth exploded in her face, she knelt before me sobbing. You couldn't possibly love anyone else. She refused to admit that she had smashed everything with her own hands. In her world, I would always be that broke college student who would bleed for her but never deserved to be called her husband. My CEO wife was planning a once-in-a-lifetime wedding for me. I had once been a penniless student scraping by on scholarships just to stay in school. Now I stood as the groom under everyone's envious gaze. The day our company went public news about my CEO wife planning a belated grand wedding for me ripped through the city like wildfire. But no sooner had we settled into the limousine than a call flashed across her phone screen from a number with no name attached. I changed my mind. Miriam, usually so poised and unshakable, felt her eyes well up instantly. In her frantic state, she shoved me right out of the limousine. Sweetheart, our deal with the Harrison family has hit a major crisis. The company's survival is on the line. We'll have to do the wedding another day. Before I could respond, the car tore off, disappearing in a cloud of exhaust. Dust and gravel swirled in its wake. I glanced down at my leg. My calf was shredded, blood pooling beneath me. Gritting through the agony, I waved down a cab. That partnership with the Harrison family was something I had begged my own parents to arrange for Miriam. I was the one who connected her to them. If there had been a real problem, my parents would have warned me first. I set my jaw determined to see for myself what could possibly be more important than our own wedding. The limousine raced ahead of me. My cab driver had the pedal to the floor, but we couldn't close the distance. Then the streets outside began to look familiar, each landmark pulling me deeper into confusion. My suspicion only intensified. The cab pulled up in front of a hotel. It was the same venue where Miriam and I had booked for our ceremony. The moment my foot hit the pavement, firecrackers erupted in a deafening roar. Laughter and cheers echoed from every direction. Was someone else getting married here today? I pushed down the unease rising in my chest. I followed the crowd inside. On stage, the bride and groom stood hand in hand, making their way to the altar. Their faces beamed as they leaned into the mic. Thank you everyone for being here today. Please forgive any lack of proper hospitality. The woman in white was unmistakably my wife, Miriam. Who was the man beside her? When the groom turned and I saw his face, my blood ran cold. I stood frozen. It felt like every drop of blood in me had turned to ice. How could it be Edward? The guests around me murmured in awe. I'm telling you, Miriam's luck is insane. The husband she kept hidden for years is actually the heir to the Harrison Group. So jealous. I heard they've been together since high school all the way to the altar. That's the definition of a fairy tale romance. They're so lucky. Since when did the Harrison family have another son? No one bothered to inform me. Back in college, Miriam's only impression of Edward was that he was broke, cheap, and tacky. If I hadn't secretly pulled strings and used the Harrison name to quietly fund his college education, he wouldn't have been able to afford tuition. Last year, when I heard he got fired, I made some calls and got him hired in the Harrison Group. I thought I was doing him another favor. I kept asking myself, hadn't I done enough for Edward? So why? Why was he the one standing at the altar next to my wife, Miriam, receiving everyone's blessings as a married couple? My knuckles turned white. My chest felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer to it. Up on stage, Miriam was gripping Edward's hand tightly. She gazed at him with adoring eyes and began her vows. Yes, I'm so fortunate and so happy. I promised him a long time ago that on the day our company went public, I would give him the grand wedding he deserved. Today, I finally kept my word. The room erupted in applause. Cheers bounced off the walls. My in-laws, who had always sneered at me, were now grinning from ear to ear. With the Harrison family backing them now, Miriam's company is going to take off. I heard the partnership is already locked in. Looks like the young Mr. Harrison can't stand to see his own wife struggle anymore. Kiss her. Kiss her, the crowd chanted. To the delighted cheers of the audience, Edward slid his arm around Miriam's waist and couldn't resist any longer. He dipped her and pressed his lips to hers. He only pulled away when her cheeks were flush crimson. We kept our relationship private before, because I didn't want people to believe that Miriam's success was just handed to her by the Harrison name. But as you all pointed out, I really can't stand to let her keep fighting alone. Miriam gave a sweet smile and reached for the mic again. She was about to add another affectionate line when she lifted her eyes and accidentally accidentally locked eyes with mine. On pure instinct, she shoved Edward hard. Her rosy, bashful expression drained to a ghostly white. Joe, Miriam? Why didn't anyone tell me there was a new groom? My eyes stung with heat. I limped up the stage steps on my mangled leg, fought through the pain, and grabbed the mic from her. Then I hurled it straight at her. This is your company's life or death crisis. The microphone crashed onto the floor with a piercing shriek of feedback. The ballroom, moments ago roaring with noise, went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Miriam hadn't expected me to lash out. Her expression turned ice cold. She pointed a shaking finger at me and shrieked, "Joey, how dare you hit me?" Before the echo faded, my mother-in-law stormed the stage and cracked her palm across my cheek. "You worthless piece of trash. Haven't you bothered my daughter enough? My daughter and her husband are already wed. Have some dignity and stay the hell away from her. You think we're pushovers?" My father-in-law marched up, face like thunder, and yelled for security. "Throw him out this instant. If he doesn't leave, I'm calling the cops. Miriam is too soft, but we older folks won't let you make a scene here ever again." The slap caught me right by the ear. The sting shot through my skull, my ears ringing. I'd always known my in-laws despised me. But how had I, their daughter's legal husband of 3 years, suddenly become a stray dog they couldn't shake off? I locked my eyes on Miriam, throat tight, and forced out each word. "Call the cops? On who?" "Miriam, we were together for 7 years. Married for 3. You tell me, who's really the one without shame?" My question landed like a rock in a pond. The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. Before Miriam could answer, Edward stepped in front of her and roared at me. "That's enough. Spinning lies and trashing a woman's name. Aren't you embarrassed? If you have a problem, take it up with me." His fierce, protective stance drew cheers and applause from the crowd. Miriam looked at him with total dependence and worship. She looked so gentle and sweet. Even I, her husband for 3 years, barely recognized her. "Edward, you're so wonderful." They pressed close to each other, desperate to flaunt their romance for everyone to see. I might as well have been invisible. Edward kept one arm around Miriam's shoulder and shot me a smug, knowing glance. "Joey, the Harrison family has supported you all these years. Who would have thought we'd end up raising an ungrateful wolf? You're a grown man, young, healthy, capable. Why are you so desperate to latch onto a female CEO, living off a woman's money? No pride at all. Have you no shame?" I had no idea if Edward knew who I really was. Listening to him twist the truth with such a straight face was almost funny, absurd beyond belief. When he finished, the last trace of guilt in Miriam's eyes vanished completely. In its place was pure, open revulsion. She sneered at me. "Haven't I been clear enough? Edward and I have been together since college. We vowed a long time ago to spend our lives together. Joey, if you bother me again, you'll never work in this town again." No sooner had she spoken than another round of mockery rippled through the crowd. "So he's a gold digger. That's how broke losers act. They'll sell their dignity just to climb up the ladder. Who knows how many times he's begged on his knees for cash. He actually thinks Miriam would want trash like him. Where's security? Get him out of here. He's an eyesore." Edward's face went dark, but he held his tongue. Seeing how sour his face had turned, I laughed out loud. "Edward, you actually believe they're telling the truth? Back in college, when you couldn't afford food, kneeling outside the Harrison Tower crying and begging for a handout, was that you or me? And when you got fired, who came crawling to me begging me to get you back in? Now here you are, arm in arm with my wife, acting like the Harrison heir. You think you've made it. You believe any random nobody can become royalty overnight." My words struck his rawest nerve. Edward's eyes went bloodshot. He looked ready to snap. But before he could speak, someone grabbed my pant leg and pulled. They yanked me right off the stage. My lower back smashed against the concrete. Pain shot through my spine. I could barely breathe, let alone talk. My vision went black. The people circling me were my own co-workers. Every face was twisted with smug cruelty. "A worthless loser like you, 0 sales, dead weight, and you claim you helped anyone get hired. Every huge deal this company closes came through Mr. Harrison's connections. You think a few lies from you can ruin his name? You're in fake brands from head to toe. Stop pretending you're somebody. It's pathetic." With these people cheering him on, Edward's smugness returned. "As long as I'm around, this company will never want for contracts. You, a college dropout from a broke family. Where do you get the nerve to talk?" The mockery never let up. I lay there on the cold ground, pale and frozen, and my wife, Miriam, stood a few feet away, watching with cold eyes, like I was a complete stranger. "Miriam, when you begged me to wait all those years, back then, what promises did you make?" I coughed. I wanted to laugh, but my voice trembled. "You said every moment of waiting was proof that our love could conquer anything. So what are you doing now?" I saw Miriam's fingers flinch. A flicker of something crossed her face. But then Edward squeezed her hand and crushed whatever doubt she had. "Miriam, if he truly loved you, he'd want you to have a better life, not weigh you down forever." Miriam's face went cold until her eyes turned to ice. All that was left was disappointment and loathing. "Someone as selfish as you doesn't belong in this company. Joey, you're fired." She had the nerve to call me selfish? I let out a hollow laugh. Every deal worth millions, every contract worth tens of millions. I worked through the night on those pitches. I chased every client. Miriam, look me in the eye. From day one of this company to the IPO, how much did I really give? The second I stopped, Edward jumped in with a sneer. If it weren't for the Harrison name, your half-baked proposals wouldn't have closed anything. You think you're a big shot. Miriam believed him completely. Furious, she snatched a mic and chucked it at my head. Joey, who the hell do you think you are? This company's success is because of me and Edward. We'll give you the right to take credit. Then she turned and apologized to Edward in front of everyone. She completely forgot that we were husband and wife. All she wanted was to crush me, to grind my pride into the floor, to make Edward look like gold. She would say anything. If Edward really was the Harrison heir, then from this day on, I would lose everything. Too bad for them. He wasn't. And I had planned, right here at this wedding, to finally tell Miriam who I really was. I pushed myself up using the staircase. I looked at Miriam and laughed bitterly. Chloe, are you absolutely certain that this man calling himself Edward Harrison is really the Harrison heir? The Harrison heir is getting married, so where is his family? You call me a liar. Then show me proof that there was never a marriage between you and me. Question after question, each word sharper than the last. Soon enough, whispers started in the crowd. Wait, I thought the Harrison's youngest son was supposed to be the golden child. So where's his family? What if Joey is telling the truth? He's also a Harrison. What if he's the real heir? Edward's face shifted. He tried to stay calm and shouted at me. My family didn't come because I didn't want a huge spectacle. But the first time I saw you, you couldn't even scrape together $4 for lemonade. You had to borrow from Miriam. Would a Harrison heir ever be that broke? By then, Miriam had fully taken his side. Her eyes were poison. She pulled a red certificate from her purse and slapped it across my face. Open your eyes and look closely. The name on that certificate was Edward and Miriam, legally married for 3 years. That red booklet with Edward and Miriam's names stabbed into my eyes like needles. No wonder that day at City Hall her eyes kept darting away, full of guilt. No wonder she never let me see our marriage certificate for 3 years. Years of feelings, years of stubborn hope collapsed in that instant. All that waiting, all those promises were just me fooling myself. The woman I call my wife all this time had never intended to marry me at all. Seeing me frozen, the crowd turned on me again. I told you, Miriam and the Harrisons are a real match. Who is this guy? Is he mentally ill? Claiming to be a Harrison when he looks like that? If you're sick, see a doctor. Don't come here making everyone sick. Kneel and apologize. Someone shoved down on my shoulders, tried to force me to my knees. In a struggle, I saw Edward leaning close. A vicious smile curled on his lips. He whispered in my ear, Miriam is already pregnant with my child. You should be glad I changed my mind today. Otherwise, you would have raised that kid for me. They dared to humiliate me like this? Rage exploded in my chest. I clenched my fist, pulled back, and swung. My fist connected with Edward's face. Edward screamed. I tried to throw another punch. A cold metal pipe smashed into my knee. The pain buckled my legs. I dropped to the floor. Miriam's voice screamed above me. Joey, you dare touch Edward? You asked for this. Miriam's face was dark and terrible. She ordered the guards holding me down. Break his legs, she said coldly. Try it, I snarled. I stared at Miriam, fighting against them. I'm the real Harrison heir. Touch me, and the Harrisons will destroy every one of you. They just laughed. Still acting? This performance. You should be in Hollywood. Better than begging here like a pathetic side piece. The crowd howled with laughter. The guards raised the metal pipe over my knee. Don't move. Behave, and it'll hurt less. Then the bone shattered. I couldn't hold back the scream. Miriam, don't you feel like a clown? Edward sneered. He still wouldn't let it go. A few guys who look like bodyguards don't prove anything. Unless Mr. Harrison himself shows up. Then how about if I show up? A voice like thunder rolled through the hall. My parents stood in the doorway. My eyes burned. My mother-in-law didn't realize yet. She ran to them, all smiles. Mr. Harrison, you came for Edward's wedding? Before she finished, a guard shoved her aside. Joey, my mother's eyes landed on me. Rage and heartbreak poured from her. I must have looked like hell. My leg was shredded. A red handprint blazed on my face. My wedding suit was torn to rags. As the only heir to the Harrison family, I had never known such humiliation. Everyone in the room froze at the name Joey. No one dared to breathe. Mom, I tried to push myself up. My mother pressed me back down. You're this hurt and still trying to be tough? Stay put. Let me handle these garbage people. Her cold eyes swept the room. Who said they were going to break my son's legs? No one answered. Miriam's face went white as paper. The guards who had hit me dropped to their knees. They trembled, weeping, begging for mercy. We were just following orders. Please, Mr. Harrison, have mercy. I lay there, silent. My mother's face was stone. She raised her hand. Drag them out. Whatever leg of his they broke, break the same leg on every one of them. She ignored their screams and pleas. She walked to my frozen mother-in-law and slapped her across the face. Who gave you the nerve to touch my son? Her sharp ring sliced a gash across my mother-in-law's cheek. That carefully maintained face swelled instantly. She didn't even dare to cry out. When she finally finally understood what was happening. Her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed. Worthless, my mother snorted. Across the room, my father stood before Miriam and Edward. Cold fury rolled off him. This is the woman? The one you stole the family register for? Ran away from home for? Sneaked off to marry? I smiled bitterly and looked away. I couldn't meet my father's eyes. My parents had warned me about Miriam. They said she wasn't the kind who would stay. But I was blind, stubborn. I wouldn't listen. I had to marry her. I knew you were stubborn. We wanted you to learn the hard way. We thought when you regretted it, you'd understand. But your mother and I watched you slaving away all night for her little company, drinking yourself into the hospital just to beg for investors. How could we just watch you suffer forever? You asked us to help her tiny company. We went along with it. But how did she repay you? My father's voice was oddly gentle. But when his gaze turned to Miriam, the weight of his power pressed down. For a fake heir, she shoved you out of a moving car. She tried to have your legs broken. She faked a marriage with you, got pregnant with another man's child, and expected the Harrison heir to raise it. With each word from my father, Miriam's face crumbled. Sweat poured down her forehead. Her pale face twisted in terror. Mr. Harrison, I was just angry. I never really wanted Joey's legs broken. Oh, just angry. My father picked up the pipe from the floor. So let me try a few angry words of my own. He raised the iron rod. She groveled, kowtowing and wailing. Joey, that bastard Edward tricked me. He fooled me on purpose. When I didn't answer, her red eyes snapped up. She grabbed the pipe and swung at Edward. This bastard seduced me. He stole every bit of credit from you. Let me break his legs for you. Edward didn't see it coming. She nearly split his skull. You crazy bitch. Blood ran down his forehead. He slapped her across the face. You were the one who wouldn't let go of me once you thought I was a Harrison. You clung to me. You wouldn't let go. You insisted on having my baby. They tore into each other, screaming filth, ripping each other apart. Everyone else in the ballroom looked at me with terror and fawning. How did Edward have a nerve to pretend he was a Harrison? I never liked him. He always smelled broke. Miriam had such a good husband and still wasn't satisfied. Now she's getting what she deserves. The noise grated on me. I frowned and said 2 words. Shut up. Everyone who hit me, everyone who cursed me, the Harrison family will deal with every single one. The room went silent. They wanted to beg for mercy, but they were terrified of making it worse. They huddled in the corners, shaking. With the crowd cleared, Miriam and Edward were still clawing at each other. Edward kicked her hard in the stomach. Then he crawled toward me. Mr. Harrison, I kicked her bastard out of her belly. Please, just let me live. I accepted the role properly. As the company grew busier, I nearly forgot Miriam existed. Until one day, my assistant came with a strange look. Sir, there's a woman online claiming to be your wife. She's making a scene. She says she has to see you. Give it to PR. I didn't even look up. While I was still in the hospital, Miriam's company had already gone under. Word was they had crossed the Harrison group. She had a diamond and threw it away for a piece of gravel. All her partners fled overnight. They were terrified of getting caught in the Harrison family's revenge. When the big tree falls, the monkeys scatter. The employees who had mocked me for a favor all found new jobs. Miriam had nothing, just like before I ever knew her. Back in school, her grades were terrible. I tutored her problem by problem, pulled her back from failing every class. After graduation, she wanted to start a company. I poured in every penny I had saved from working. I wrote business plan after business plan. I built her company from nothing. I thought even if my parents never approved of her, as long as we worked together, we could make it. I never thought that once she climbed high, her first move would be to shove me off the cliff. PR moved fast. They not only banned all of Miriam's accounts, but also quietly hinted that the real Mrs. Harrison was someone else entirely. A different person. The internet lit up with comments. I knew that crazy woman wasn't Mrs. Harrison. I heard the real Mrs. Harrison's maiden name is Chun, the Chun family's youngest daughter. Now that's a proper match. So jealous. That's how you do an arranged marriage. Ever since my parents retired, their only hobby was setting me up with suitable dates. They were terrified I still couldn't get over Miriam. Chloe Chun was one of them. Sweetest temper, gentlest personality. My parents adored her. When I saw that ridiculous headline, I rubbed my forehead and called my mother. Mom, there's nothing between Chloe and me. Why would you let PR say that? Then make something happen. She hung up, but I didn't want to bandage an old wound with a new relationship. That wouldn't be fair to the new person. To apologize, I invited Chloe to a private club. I planned to tell her everything about my past. But before Chloe arrived, I saw Miriam. The woman who used to wear head-to-toe designer brands was now in a cheap, pilled t-shirt. Gaunt, exhausted with dead eyes. She was lurking outside the club. She had probably tracked my schedule. The moment she saw me, a spark of desperate hope flickered in her eyes. Joey, those things online are fake, right? That talk about a new Mrs. Harrison. You couldn't possibly love someone else. Why couldn't I? I pushed her hand away. The absurdity of it almost made me laugh. But Miriam wasn't listening. She rambled like a madwoman, trapped in her own delusion. Because you love me, we promised to have a grand wedding, and then go to the Arctic to see the northern lights. How could you forget? I stepped back. That never existed. What am I supposed to remember? Stop playing crazy, Miriam. Someone as selfish as you couldn't go crazy even if you tried. Her face froze. I had ripped away her last shred of dignity. When she looked up again, her lips trembled. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her whole face twisted with rage. Joey, what do I have to do to make you leave me alone? Do you need me to die before you're happy? Keep living. Chloe stepped out from the shadows. Her smile was gentle, but her words cut. Back at your wedding, when you screamed for Joey's legs to be broken, don't worry about the wedding. Joey is going to throw me a wedding so grand, it'll make everyone's jaws drop. The woman who once dreamed of ringing the NASDAQ bell was now crumpled on the ground, sobbing. Hair a mess, clothes torn. She clawed at me. Don't get married. Please, don't marry someone else. I lost the baby. Just forgive me this once. We loved each other for so many years. We promised to be together forever. I looked down at her. All I felt was disgust. I took Chloe's hand. I made her a promise. I swear to you, I will throw a wedding that shocks the whole world. Just then, some old friends walked in. They saw the whole thing. They swarmed around me. Well, when did you two get together? And you hid from us. Last time, we showed up at the hotel, red envelopes ready, and you texted weddings canceled last minute. We drove all that way for nothing. If you stand us up again, we'll kill you. One of them noticed Miriam. He clicked his tongue. Isn't that Miriam, our ungrateful queen? I always wondered, a woman who can't even write a decent proposal. What did you ever see in her? These were exactly the kind of rich heirs Miriam had always tried to latch onto. A few compliments from them had convinced her she had better options. She thought if she could just shake off Joey, she could fly higher. Her family wasn't rich. Miriam froze. Then she forced a smile uglier than a cry. Didn't you all say my proposals had potential? Didn't you say I was worth investing in? Didn't you hint I deserved better? You can't even recognize a polite lie. They nearly fell over laughing. My exact words were, Miriam has potential, so don't waste your chance. Don't waste your chance meant don't waste Joey. Everything you had was his. Miriam stared at me and Chloe, her face twisted with jealousy. That dazzling fairy tale love, that life everyone envied. She had thought it was hers by right. She could have been the one everyone called a winner, but she threw it all away herself. Joey, I was tricked too. I'm the victim here. Why can't you forgive me just once? Her wailing grated on my nerves. Her pathetic act made me tired. I laughed coldly and walked up to her. Miriam, are you a victim? You knew you were married. You cheated. You lied. You covered it up. You erased everything I ever did for you. How are you any different from Edward? Just then, Edward came running over. I laughed out loud. You two deserve each other. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I couldn't control her. I'm sorry she bothered you. Edward bent over, apologizing like crazy. Then he grabbed Miriam's arm and dragged her away. Yes, this is all your fault. Miriam shrieked. Let go of me, you bastard. I need to apologize to Joey. He'll forgive me. I know he will. They glared at each other. Not a trace of the love they once faked remained. Just hatred. Let's go. Don't let them ruin the mood. My friends slapped my shoulder. Their eyes sparkled with gossip. I heard your dad bought you a yacht. You promised to take us out. Now that you have a wife, don't forget your boys. We'll go tomorrow. I sighed and agreed. When I looked back, my eyes met Chloe's. A soft blush spread across her cheeks. My heart stirred. I thought maybe I really could let go of the past. After that day, Miriam disappeared. I only heard whispers about her sometimes. My parents kept hinting, worried. I rolled my eyes. You two retired folks are living the good life. You know how busy I am? Do I look like someone who would die on a rotten tree? What's not great about Chloe? If I still wanted that trash, I'd be insane. They finally relaxed, then immediately started grilling me about Chloe. How are things going with her? Really well. Chloe was nothing like Miriam. She had her own world, her own richness inside. She never demanded my attention like a black hole. We could be in the same room, doing our own things, not needing to fill the silence. Like old friends. A single glance said it all. The day we set the wedding date, my friends gathered at the club again. They gossiped about Miriam, barely hiding their glee. Guess what? I saw that ungrateful woman the other day, causing trouble at a restaurant. She can't even get a real job now. She found a few at first, but that fake Heir went crazy. Every time she started a job, he'd show up and trash the place. He destroyed every single one. And after her reputation got out, who would hire her? Someone turned to me. So what are you up to these days? I shrugged, took a sip of wine, and just smiled. The one who dared to pretend to be a Harrison would never be forgiven. One word from the Harrisons, and no one would hire Edward, not even to wash dishes. With no income, Edward clung to Miriam like a barnacle, tried to squeeze out whatever was left of her. Miriam wanted to get rid of him too, but that legal marriage certificate was like a curse. It bound them together. Neither could escape. Of course, I only targeted Edward. They claimed they were true love, didn't they? Didn't Edward swear Miriam would never suffer? I wanted to see if Miriam could live with the choice she made, but I didn't expect her to crash my wedding. Joey, she stumbled toward me, a knife in her hand. Your bride should have been me. Only me. I asked Chloe if she was scared. It wasn't supposed to end like this. How could you fall in love with someone else? Miriam finally seemed to wake up. She laughed and cried at the same time, like a mad woman losing her last grip. And she coughed up blood. But in the end, the wedding was perfect. Later, we were lying on a beach in Hawaii, soaking up the sun on our honeymoon, when a headline popped up. The fallen female CEO who killed her husband. How she became a murderer. I found out that on my wedding day, in a fit of rage, Miriam had stabbed Edward to death. Then she dismembered him and stuffed him in a freezer. After that, she came to my wedding with a bloody knife. I poked my son's soft cheek and laughed. My wife slapped my hand away. Stop poking him. His face is turning red. I grinned and pulled her close. Phoenix, can't poke him, but I can poke you, right? Miriam faded from my mind quickly. She was nothing to me now. I was too busy to waste another second on her. Whether she was alive or dead didn't matter. I only knew I was happy now, and I would only get happier. The final chapter of this story is not just a satisfying revenge fantasy. It is a mirror reflecting a cruel truth about misplaced values. At the end of the story, the humble, poor student finally reclaims his name, and the woman who thought she was so clever buries her last chance at redemption. Reading this, you might feel chill. Why does giving your all sometimes earn you more abuse? The truth is painful. In the eyes of a selfish person, your gentleness is weakness. Your patience is expected. Your whole heart is just a backdrop for their ego. They never loved you. They loved the version of themselves you polished. Miriam never understood that what made her shine wasn't the Harrison name. It was the man who built a company with her. When she turned off his light, only darkness was left. True nobility isn't about bloodline. It's about the depth of your soul. Real strength isn't how much money you can move. It's having the confidence to walk away. If you're going through what the main character did at the beginning, if you feel unseen, underestimated, or betrayed, do not blame yourself. Those who try to break your wings are afraid of how high you'll fly. Do not stay where you are, trying to prove yourself to them. Do not try to wake someone who is pretending to be asleep. Take back your kindness. Save it for someone who sees you. The best revenge is not watching your enemies fall. It is climbing so high that they can't even see you anymore, and living a life so full and bright that they become irrelevant. Stay awake, love deeply, but have the courage to leave when you must, because you are the only true heir to your own life. The final chapter of this story is not just a satisfying revenge fantasy about a powerful family. It is more like a mirror reflecting a brutal truth about how we misplace our values. When a story closes, the poor student who once groveled in the dust finally reclaims his name in the spotlight. And the woman who thought she was so clever buries her last shred of redemption in the abyss of her own greed. Reading this story, you might feel a shiver run down your spine. Why does giving your absolute all sometimes earn you even more cruelty in return? The truth is brutally simple. In the eyes of a deeply selfish person, your kindness is weakness. Your patience is expected, and your devotion is nothing more than a backdrop to make them look important. They never loved you at all. They loved the polished version of themselves that you helped create. Miriam never understood, even at the end, that what actually made her shine was never the Harrison family name. It was the man who built a company with her from nothing and stood between her and every storm. When she blew out the only light that was kept burning for her, nothing but darkness was left to greet her. Here is what we need to remember. True worth is not about your family name. It is about the depth of your character. Real power is not how much money you can move. It is having the strength and the discipline to walk away when you need to. If you, like the hero at the start of this story, are going through a time of feeling unseen, undervalued, or even betrayed, do not let that make you doubt who you are. The people who try to clip your wings are terrified of how high you might soar. Do not stay in one place, endlessly trying to prove your worth to people who refuse to see it. And do not waste your energy trying to wake someone who is determined to keep their eyes shut. Take back that cheap kindness you have been giving away. Save it for the people who actually see you, value you, and will stand beside you as an equal. The best revenge is not watching your enemies suffer. It is climbing so high that they cannot even see you anymore, no matter how hard they strain. It is living a life so full, so rich, so intensely alive that their absence means nothing at all. Stay awake, stay wise, love deeply, but have the courage to walk away when you must, because in the end, you are the one and only true heir to your own life.